I've been wanting to make a video about Micky Van de Ven for some time now, and this international break seemed like the best time to do exactly that. Last weekend, Tottenham's hopes of a top 4 finish were dealt a minor blow when they lost 3-0 to Fulham at Craven Cottage. The towering defender missed the game with a hamstring injury, and perhaps to no great surprise for Spurs fans this season, the team didn't look anywhere near their best without Van de Ven at the heart of the defence. When we take a look at Tottenham's form with and without Van de Ven, we can actually very quickly begin to realise how important he is to Ange Postecoglou's tactics this season. So far in this campaign, Tottenham's goals conceded per game average is 40% higher without Van de Ven in the side. But rather intriguingly, their goals scored per game also drops by 16%. And naturally, when we take both of these figures into account, it only makes sense that the club's points per game with Van de Ven in the team this season is pretty remarkably 45% higher than the points they've won without him. Interestingly enough, Postecoglou did go out of his way to say the Fulham defeat wasn't down to Van de Ven being injured, but I suspect that's because he's a manager that prides himself on developing systems that can have players move in and out of them with relative ease. That's not to say that Postecoglou doesn't rate his own central defender. That, of course, would be ridiculous. But I think he probably is trying to downplay his team's over-reliance, in a way, on this young player in a defensive and an attacking sense, even if they really are. Perhaps a good way of showcasing how much of a difference Van de Ven makes in this Tottenham team is by looking at how they pass the ball with and without him. Here we have two pass maps by the excellent Mark Stats on Twitter, with Tottenham's performance against Fulham on the right and their recent win over Aston Villa on the left. When we highlight Van de Ven against Villa, we can see how much of Tottenham's passing goes through the player, so much so that it looks as if his sheer weight of gravity is pulling the rest of the team towards him. When we then look at the Fulham game, where Radu Dragusin slotted in for his injured teammate, we can see that Tottenham's centre of gravity shifted to the right and towards Christian Romero. It will then perhaps come as no surprise to learn that Tottenham's two left-sided players in both games, Destiny Udogie and Brennan Johnson, received 27% fewer touches of the ball in the second game without Van de Ven pulling the strings, compared to the first one which he did play in. Although 2 games is a tiny sample size, I think those 2 matches in particular do a good job of illustrating just how good Van de Ven has been in the Premier League this season. He has the extremely rare combination of technical ability, defensive solidity and speed, and that's what's allowed him to thrive in the Premier League this season. Let's take a look at those impressive attributes by beginning with the defender's speed, which is really just incredible. Before departing Wolfsburg in the summer, the Bundesliga confirmed that the Dutch talent's top speed of 35.97 km per hour was the 9th highest since the league's records began. And of the 8 players that clocked a quicker time, just one was another central defender. If that wasn't impressive enough, in February of this year, the Premier League confirmed that the towering defender had actually beaten his own record set in Germany in a clash against Brentford, where he hit a top speed of 37.38 km per hour, which now makes him the fastest player in the English top flight's history. To put that into context, it means Tottenham have a defender guarding their high line with a top speed that's just a slither off Usain Bolt's pace when he broke the 100-metre world record in 2009. The defender's range of passing is also pretty exceptional. Today, Van de Ven has the best passing accuracy in the Premier League among every player in the division. And when we narrow in on riskier long passes, he not only comes 5th in the entire division, but also sits top among all central defenders. Interestingly enough, when we compare Van de Ven's player radar from this season at Tottenham to his radar at Wolfsburg last season, we can see that he's actually making fewer tackles and challenging for fewer aerial balls. But the most dramatic change comes in his dribbling and passing. Here we see a player making far fewer dribbles up the park with the ball, but far more passes into the opposing third. This actually makes a lot of sense when we consider Ange Postecoglou's tactics at Tottenham. Maybe at Wolfsburg he was obviously playing against teams that dominated the ball and attacked Wolfsburg more, so he was playing more counter-attacking football, which in turn meant that he had to dribble up the pitch more often than not. But at Tottenham this season, and particularly in Postecoglou's Spurs side, he's playing for a team that dominate possession, and his ability to pass the ball is actually far more important than his ability to dribble from one box to the other. All in all, Tottenham not only have a player that has all the attributes to become a world-class central defender, but also one that has quickly become a vital part of his manager's tactics. And that's why Tottenham's hopes of finishing 4th this season may be over-reliant on the central defender staying fit.